whatever noise you're experiencing in your life, there is a way to get through it. And the way to get through it is not through anybody else, is what I learned. It's through yourself. And it ain't always going to be easy, but it sure will be a ride.
This is Breaking Through the Noise, practical strategies from emerging thought leaders who've actually broken through the noise on their terms. I'm your host, Catherine Jelinek. Let's get real and let's get into it. Hello, everyone. Welcome to a special episode of Breaking Through the Noise. Today, I am joined by Blair Huddy, principal and founder of Hudson Davis, a PR agency that focuses on brands and projects that help people and the planet. Thank you so much for being here with us today, Blair.
Thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure.
So your story really resonates, and I'm so excited to get to hear it, share it, because you have broken through the noise so many times, and you're doing it in so many ways, inner and outer ways.
Yeah.
And your story is just one of so much resilience. And I think it's multidimensional in the way that others can learn from it and gain from it.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that very much.
Yes. Well, I appreciate you being here. So let's launch right into it. I mean, it begins probably with, in a way, the pandemic and all the ways your life began to change around then.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure you remember in March, it was like, we're going to be working from home for 2 weeks. And so I was like, great, I'll work from my kitchen table for 2 weeks. And 2 weeks turned into 2 months. And by the end of May, I was like, I cannot for another second work from my kitchen table. I don't know about like you, but I'm super type A. And I was like, I can't do it. I can't do it for another second. I've got to have a separate space for eating. So I had an old desk in my closet that I just hadn't built when I moved in. And I lived in a group of townhomes. I had like 26 buildings. And so they made this little Facebook page. And I asked the Facebook page if anybody would be willing to help me build a desk. And somebody responded, and he's now my husband. He's been a lifelong entrepreneur, and sort of immediately as we were getting to know each other, kind of picked up on like, wow, you're really good at this. You're really good at what you do. I've been in marketing and comms and PR for my entire career, over a decade now. And he just kind of kept saying like, you're too good at this to be doing it for somebody else. And I was like, no, thank you. Like, I'm very happy to keep my 6-figure paycheck and 6-figure bonus. And then the back to office email came, and it was an environment where I was sitting at a desk with no windows, staring at concrete walls all day. And if you weren't at your desk, you must not be working. And it just was killing me. Was just killing me. And so I looked at him and I said, I don't think I can go back. And he said, this is what I've always wanted for you. And so I gave my boss on April 2nd of 2021, 30 days notice. I tried not to do it on April 1st because I didn't want him to think it was like some weird April Fool's joke. And they came back to me and said, whatever you're doing, we're a client. And that's sort of how I started on my own. And when you go out on your own, it's like, okay, well, but there are hundreds of thousands of other marketers that do what I do. How do I break through the noise, literally? And so one of the things that first happened, one, was that they were my first client, but two, I've always been very active on LinkedIn. And in my corporate life, I was a consultant for LinkedIn. So I consulted on the project that helped build out Sales Navigator. And the minute I turned my LinkedIn to like self-employed, people came to me, which was really interesting. But that went from 0 to 60 really, really fast. I mean, we went from like, it was just me consulting to suddenly I had 40 clients and had to hire 25 people. And that was in 6 months. And we were doing millions of dollars in revenue. And like, I wasn't prepared in any way for that kind of momentum to happen so quickly. And so of course, what goes up must come down. And so it came down. In July of 2022, July 7th, I got married. And July 10th,
Congratulations.
thank you. July 10th, I had a health incident. We still don't know if I had a stroke, They call it kind of a TIA, like a transient ischemic attack, something of unknown origin. There was no bleed in my brain, but I stopped being able to see, speak, or move my limbs. And come to find out, months later, um, our home had a gas leak. And so we were suffering from natural gas poisoning.
My God, and that's what it was.
Yeah.
Mm.
So, I mean, we started sleeping like 12, 14, 16 hours a day. I was waking up with bloody noses. We could smell rotten eggs, but we weren't sure. Like, we had the place professionally cleaned. Like, we weren't sure what happened. But that's not the moral of the story,
No,
because
no.
while I was in the hospital, the person that we had hired to sort of oversee our business while we were getting married and doing our thing took our client contracts out from under us. And so I walked out of the hospital with nothing, no business. We had one client that stuck with us. I would say almost $100,000 in project bills to pay, but
Wow.
suddenly no client payments were coming to me. They were all coming to his newly formed LLC. And so I had to pay everybody on credit cards and file for bankruptcy.
And while you were not even recovered from.
Yeah, I had to do this during recovery, but we had one client that stuck with us, and that kept. I mean, we were in LA at the time, so it was like barely a roof over our heads and like ramen and water, and that was it. And you're newly married, you're 32, and
My
you're
God.
like, this is not how I expected things to go.
No.
But as I said, what must go up must come down, and what comes down must go up. And we wound up getting a project. What I wound up doing with the agency was I made a very good relationship with a local VC, and they just pump money into projects. And then all those projects need marketing and PR. And so I had a healthy pipeline in that way. And so I wound up getting a project from a person that I had met while I was doing that work before this had all happened. And he said to me, you're leading with marketing, but you're so good at PR. You should lead with that. And I'm like very hesitant to people's suggestions, I guess, because I was like, nah, like what will happen if I lead with PR? I can't niche down. Like, how will niching down help me expand? But as I came to find out, people can't always see themselves in like, oh, I can help you with your marketing. They're like, what does that mean? Can I help you with your social media? Can I like, are you gonna redo my website? Like, what does that mean? But when I
Mhm.
tell people I own a PR agency, they go, oh, well, I need PR. They like that immediately. So like lesson number one in breaking through the noise is like sometimes niching down can really help you break through that noise, because there are so many generalists that if you pick
Yes.
one thing to lead with. And then I did a second niche down um, a couple months later, maybe within 6 months. And that was, I took what's called a Clean Creatives Pledge. And I sort of said, I'm not going to work on projects that are actively harming the planet. I'm not going to take on a fossil fuel project. That would be like saying, I'm not going to work for a cigarette company kind of
Mhm.
thing.
Mhm.
And so we sort of said, okay, now we are a PR agency that focuses on helping people and the planet and projects that do so. And suddenly even more people were like, that's exactly, we've got like a nonprofit started by a group of women that they met at a garden club, and now they travel the country teaching Republicans about climate change. Like
Oh.
it's stuff like that where like you're like, this is important work, and I am just in awe and honored to just be like a part of it. We had uh the very first like credit card that um told you like what brands were harming the planet and would give you
Mhm.
like cash back for spending at brands that were better for the planet and would help you make those choices.
Wow.
And we helped them do over $250 million in transactions and like launch that credit card and got them in TechCrunch and all kinds of stuff. And like if you swiped at a gas station, they would plant a tree on your behalf. And so it's stuff like that where like, we really love working on projects where we know that we're giving back. But we've also worked with like a software that was built for the US Space Force, which was really cool. And we got to do some work with NASA and Voyager and all that kind of stuff.
Oh.
And that to me is that's helping people. That's helping, further people's mission, and some
Well,
people's
that's
mission
helping
is
the
to go to
planet
space.
too, right? Because the
Yeah.
more we know about the world around the planet, or the space around the planet,
Yeah.
other things around the
Yeah.
planet. I mean, it's yeah, it's reinforcing of our
Yeah.
precious planet.
And, health, anything involved with human health or animal health, that's certainly helping people on the planet. So you think it's small, it's not just climate change, although that's, obviously. And so we just kind of rebuilt, and um and then it happened again. I got sick again in March of last year. I didn't know what was happening, but I eventually came to find out that I had vitamin B6 poisoning. And in March of last year, I had what I thought was my very first anaphylactic reaction, but it was actually a B6 reaction because the food I had was really highly concentrated in B6 and my body was already really toxic.
Can you explain what a B6 poisoning is, since that's not, I feel like, something not a lot of us know about?
Yeah, so there's naturally occurring B6, which is in a lot of our foods: chicken, potatoes, bananas, avocados. And our body, the majority of our function runs with B6. It's crucial to our nerves, our neurons in our brain, our autonomic system, our central nervous system. But there are products and companies that put synthetic B in their products. And when you get overloaded with synthetic B6, true B6 cannot do its job. And so your body starts to shut down. And that's what happened for me. So I stopped, I stopped being able to stand and walk on my own. I was extremely dizzy. I developed just a host of other horrifying symptoms. I wasn't sleep is an autonomic process, and I stopped sleeping. I couldn't eat. I was vomiting everything I ate. I had no idea what was happening to me. It wasn't until I got to a stage where I just begged my doctor, please test my vitamin levels, test my iron levels, test my ferritin levels, test anything you possibly can. One day I was fine. The next day I'm not. And I have
Why
no
did you
idea.
have to beg? Why didn't they say this is what you should be doing?
Interestingly, she thought I was having, because my mother is diagnosed bipolar. So they just assumed that because I wasn't sleeping, that I must be having a bipolar manic episode. And I've never been diagnosed as bipolar. And I don't have that mania side whatsoever. And so I felt
That's
very
tough to have to
dismissed.
deal with that. Yeah, on top of
Yeah.
all of what you were physically dealing with.
Yeah. And I was having like crazy heart palpitations. Like you could see my heart beating out of my chest. And I developed tinnitus. And so we can talk about breaking through that kind of noise too, because it was an 11
Yeah.
out of 10 at first.
And to explain what that is, if somebody doesn't know.
Yeah, it's ringing in the ears. It can sound like ringing, whooshing. Mine sounded, well, at first I had 8 tones. I developed 8 tones of tinnitus. And so it was like crickets, cicadas, a kettle that's been on for far too long, a beeping sound. I had all of it. And it was so loud that I don't even know how to describe the terror, you know, and it's just horrific for anybody who has the condition. My heart goes out to you. And I say that because that condition, actually, the founder of Home Depot had tinnitus and he committed suicide.
Oh my God.
And it nearly drove me to suicide. It drove me to suicide. I made an attempt. And fortunately, it was unsuccessful.
I'm
But
sorry.
thank you. Um, that experience, you're inside your body and your body is failing and you have no idea what's happening and you're so scared. I was hallucinating. I had such severe nerve pain that I couldn't touch my own face. I couldn't like wash my body with a washcloth. It was really, really severe. And it was because I just had this cumulative exposure of this synthetic B6 from drinking liquid IV. I was drinking one every day because when we moved from California to Colorado, everybody said, you got to stay hydrated. You got to stay hydrated. You got to stay hydrated. And we walked into a Costco and there was a package that said liquid hydration. And I went, great, liquid
Oh,
hydration.
boy.
I had no idea what electrolytes were. I had no idea the impact on the nervous system. I had no idea that there were vitamins in it. I was just so naive to any of it. And I've had to claw my way back, truly. So B6, synthetic B6 has a half-life of 30 days. So every 30 days, half of what's in your system leaves. And so it
Mm-hmm.
took me more than 6 months to clear the toxin from my body. So I was, even though I had stopped drinking, I finally got a blood test back on May 31st.
That's
Gosh,
3 months of dealing with the whole suite of all those symptoms.
without knowing what was happening.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
And then I got my blood test back on May 31st. Sorry, I took my bloods on May 31st.
mm-hmm.
That night of May 31st, my husband had a heart attack.
Oh my God.
My
Unrelated
husband,
to all of this stuff, B6 and
unrelated, although he was also drinking them. So I don't know,
those.
but probably related to the stress of
Yeah.
what was happening. He was discharged June 1st. June 2nd, I got the call that my blood levels were more than twice the upper limit. And the advice that they gave me was stop whatever you're taking that has B6 in it, stop, and best of luck to you. No
Oh my gosh.
guidance on, like, nobody said, this is going to get way worse before it gets better because your body goes through withdrawals. This is going to
Oh
take
my
you six
gosh.
months to clear your system.
How did you end up finding all that out then? Who eventually was the guide, or where'd you get any information?
Google.
Okay.
I wasn't
Oh my
sleeping, so
God.
I had all the time in the world. It was up to me to figure out what was happening and how to solve my own problem. And so I did. And I learned that, if your B6 is off, it creates an imbalance in your GABA and glutamate systems. So I went to the doctor and said, I need something to help boost GABA and dampen glutamate. And that's what I got. I had to do everything on my
You
own.
had
I
to
had to
steer
learn
your
that.
whole ship.
Yeah. Meanwhile, you know, when we sent a note out to our clients to say that, I was going to be taking a step back from the business, I mean, I couldn't stand. I couldn't even sit up, let alone do client work or take client calls. The majority of our clients came back and said, well, if we're not going to be working with Blair, we don't want to work with you, which was tough. It was tough for my husband, who's a great leader. It was tough for the team who were doing great work, but, we had to fire everybody. And so it was like round two, here we go. And it's been, I'm still on this journey of rebuilding my body, rebuilding my nervous system, rebuilding. But one of the things that has always been constant is LinkedIn was there for me. I don't know why LinkedIn in particular, but as I shared my journey on LinkedIn, people started to follow along. And I just kind of started posting about it. And I post often on LinkedIn. I comment often on LinkedIn. I'm very, very active there, not just about, what has happened, but LinkedIn has been my way of breaking through the noise. People come to me because of my presence. I totally unexpected, just given everything I'd been through last year. I was named number 25 on the platform. In PR and advertising in the United States. And I
I
think
can't.
I'm number 101 or 104 globally. And
And
I
you
just,
do this while you're dealing with all of this other, what's wonderful and crazy and beyond impressive is how naturally everything that everybody else is like, how do I build my business? How do I make six figures? How do I get all these clients? How do I break through the noise on social media or any of these platforms? You're just doing these and it's like a natural offshoot. It's so effortless while you're dealing with something in your life that's so beyond, like it's all consuming.
yeah. I mean, I think my approach has just been to, one, be myself, and two, like, kind of build this thing in public, and like the ups and downs and the highs and the lows. And so and I often will like get off client calls, and like the advice that I give them will become a post, or, talking about my journey. So my LinkedIn is sort of really multifaceted, but also, I was really intentional about building my profile. I think we talked about this when we first met. I put an Elle Woods GIF in my education section because I went to Harvard Business School online, and so the what like it's hard like ended up in my education section. And I wanted people to know that working with me would be fun, and that you can visit my profile and feel like you know me already, and that's how people want to do business. And it's interesting because while I was so very ill up through November, so November 17th is what I called my receptor day, which was the day that finally all of my half-lives ended and the toxin was fully gone from my body. And since then, things have continued to improve. It's not always, the healing is not linear. And neither is building a business. Neither is breaking through the noise. It's not linear.
Mm-hmm.
But in general, I'm trending kind of consistently in a better direction overall. And so I've just continued to show up as myself. And like while I was sort of down, inbound flow stopped. And I don't know if anybody's listening is into like human design or anything like that, but I'm a
Mm-hmm.
projector, and projectors are not meant to go chasing after things. Projectors, stuff comes to them. And so your job is not to do, your job is to wait and be patient, and it will come to you. And the minute I started to have the capacity for work again, the work came. And suddenly now I have more inbounds than I know what to do with, and we're going to have to start hiring again. And so,
Wow, there you go. Is it the
yeah.
third or fourth round of
Yeah.
taking off a hockey stick again?
Yeah. But I've learned so many lessons along the way that as we rebuild this time, we're not building the same. And so it will look very, very different from the way we ran things previously. But I also learned much more about my nervous system and the capacity that I have. And what I learned was if the business relies on me to be working, I have failed at something. Because if something happens to me and I can't do the work, the business can't fall apart. And so I've had to learn how to build a team and a structure and systems that keep the business running. My husband took over as CEO and he's doing a phenomenal job. So now I run as principal founder. He's bad cop, I'm good cop. And overall, I think our commitment to one, using our gifts for good, and two, staying real true to who we are and how we work. I mean, what you see is what you get when you work with us. And it's going to be fun and you're going to get funky ideas and you're going to get great results. But at the same time, I have developed really strong boundaries. So my working hours or hours where I take calls shrunk from like 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. to now my capacity is 11 to 2. And I'm sorry if we need to meet a week out, 2 weeks out, 3 weeks out, that's my capacity. And so learning how to honor yourself is also a way to sort of break through the noise, because there's so much noise about the grind. And that
Yes, there is.
you have to be always on, and you have to be, you have to answer client emails at 8 p.m. or you have to, and I was doing all those things and I was working on weekends. And sometimes for a creative brand, like I'll be in the store and see like, clever packaging and go, oh, that's really clever. That gives me an idea. Like sometimes you can't turn it off. But, developing boundaries helped me also break through the noise of that hustle culture, which I think had a part in getting me to where I was, which was that I was so busy looking at everything else that I didn't stop to take the time to go, hey, I'm not feeling great. I think something I might be consuming might be contributing to that. I didn't stop. I honestly don't know if it was me or my brain or what, but I kept having this recurring thought of like, you're not keeping me safe. And I kept ignoring that. And I had this deep, deep need to slow down. And I didn't know how. And it was like, but if I slow down, how are we going to pay our bills? And the lesson there is if you don't listen to that and if you don't stop, your body will choose for you. And mine chose for me, and I had no choice. And it was very severe. And that takes us to today. I don't know. Are you comfortable with
Yeah.
sharing? I don't
Yes,
want
of
to like
course. I don't think
promote
you're.
drugs.
No, that's fine. This is different and it's newer, but also this is a part, it's very much things have people have heard of. So go ahead. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So when it comes to the tinnitus and sort of breaking through that type of noise, which is a noise that can be maddening, among all the other noise that we experience that is maddening, the constant news cycle, everything else, suddenly you're hearing ringing in your ear. At one point it was in both ears, now it's just the one. But I had done quite a bit of research into the effects of psilocybin on tinnitus. And so just this past Friday, I took a very small dose of psilocybin, just less than half a gram,
Mm-hmm.
and I experienced silence for the first time in 9 months. And when I tell you I cried like a baby,
I
I
can't
cried like a
imagine.
baby.
That's so cool.
So it didn't last, but the silence is extending. So clearly, there's a maladaptive nerve system or, maladaptive root somewhere that it got to. And I'm able to get there more often now. And I just started physical therapy for some stuff that was going on with my neck. And sure enough, those exercises are helping with the silence too. So, we can talk about when I was at my lowest was last August. And I asked for a sign from honestly God, because I had just tried to kill myself, that said, I need to know that this will end, and I need to know that I will get better, and I need you to show me something. And I've always had this sort of relationship with the universe. It's how I met my husband. I decided that I was going to manifest my husband using the color red. And so I bought this really obnoxious red jacket, and I don't even look good in red. It's just not my color. And I was wearing red lipstick, and I painted my nails red, and I started noticing red things. And that was in December of 2019. And by June of 2020, I met my husband, who drove a red car.
So cool.
And that was when I learned that, oh, this is a two-way conversation with the universe.
Mm-hmm.
And I've done that multiple times with just different things, helps making decisions or help with guidance. And so I asked the universe, I said, please send me flamingos I need something to grasp onto.
Yeah.
And for a little bit, I didn't see any. And I went, okay, this is going to stick around.
Boy.
And the day after my suicide attempt, I started seeing flamingos. And not just like flamingos are pretty random. Like they're not just randomly around the greater Boulder area of Colorado.
Boy.
And then I started seeing them everywhere. And I mean everywhere.
Mm.
Lego just released a set of that's a flamingo. And I went for a walk and was going to do a loop. And I got this urge, this intense, like, nope, you've got to go back the way you came. And off to the left was a house that had two flamingos in their yard. I went to the grocery store. Before I sort of finished this, I realized that just flamingos was kind of generic. It could be over at any time. It could be over soon. It could be over in 6 years, And so I said, okay, let's keep the flamingos, but if this is going to be over by March or sooner, please also show me giraffes. And when I tell you, not only did I start seeing giraffes, I started seeing giraffes and flamingos together. Lego released a set of a giraffe and a flamingo together, and those are not common on animals. And I went to the grocery store, and they offered me a free calendar for 2026. And on the front of the calendar was a giraffe. And when I saw that giraffe, I went, I bet you there's a flamingo in this calendar. So I wound up looking through, and I landed on my birth month. And on my birth month, there was a flamingo.
Oh my gosh.
We will be watching a show, and someone will be wearing a flamingo shirt. And my friend recorded a video and posted it to Facebook. She was wearing a shirt with a little flamingo, like things that just have no possible way of finding you. We went to the grocery store, and in the cereal aisle, which, be very careful, most cereals are fortified with synthetic B6. Cheerios checks the majority of cereals, so please check your labels. The majority of energy drinks, the majority of electrolyte drinks. But we were in the cereal aisle because my husband loves cereal. And I turned around, and there was a set of baby bibs. Like, how sometimes in the store they'll have like a little, like, hanging off the shelf, there will be like a separate product.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, one bib was a giraffe, and the bib under it was a flamingo. And like, the chances of that happening they're just astronomical.
Yeah.
And so my husband and I have decided that when this is firmly over, that we're going to get matching flamingo and giraffe tattoos.
I
And
love that.
Yeah, I'm going to put mine behind my right ear, because that's where the noise was coming from.
That's incredible.
So
You just,
what?
that is just beautiful, with the idea that you're with the silence, and there's the image of what, kept pushing you forward, that it'll eventually be that.
Yeah. And I started, because I would start taking pictures of flamingos and things. And so social media started showing me ads of things with flamingos that I could justify. But when you see it out in the world, we were driving down the street and someone had a pink flamingo, like pool floaty out in their front yard. When you start to see it out in the world like that, in December, I went for a scan for my neck and we decided we wanted to go even further and said, okay, March or sooner is still too broad. If it's going to be in January, show me a red hat. And if it's going to be in February, show me a green purse. And immediately after that appointment, first of all, in the like gift section of the hospital where my appointment was, there was a giant giraffe and next to it was a little flamingo. The giraffe was $200, so I bought the little flamingo. So that's Fran, the flamingo, and she's downstairs on my Christmas tree, which I am keeping up all year because joy. I need this joy. But immediately after that appointment, we went to Costco and I encountered a woman who was wearing a sweater of Santa wearing a red hat riding a flamingo.
My gosh.
What are the chances that Costco at that time running into that person? It continues to amaze me. I continue to see them. They continue to find me. And here it is in January, and here comes the silence, and I can't believe it.
Okay.
So there it
I
is.
mean,
There's how to break through multiple kinds of noise.
I mean, did you hit every single layer possible? You did.
If you are experiencing any kind of noise whatsoever, whether it's, you know, the noise of the people around you telling you that you should be doing something or you should be doing more, that noise that comes from you internally, a noise that you hear if you are a tinnitus sufferer, which I believe there's 20 million, somewhere between 20 and 50 million people that are impacted by tinnitus.
Wow.
Whatever noise you're experiencing in your life, there is a way to get through it. And the way to get through it is not through anybody else, is what I learned. It's through yourself. And it ain't always going to be easy, but it sure will be a ride.
That's just a mic drop moment right there. Nothing else to be said. I just want to thank you for being so open. I know you say that this is how you roll and it's the way that people can find you on LinkedIn and it's who you are. I love that. And I still want to just thank you for doing that also here, sharing like the 11 layers deep of this and how you're breaking through the noise on so many ways. But what I really want to just highlight and love on the most is like all of this connects for each of us. It's this interconnected path of self, you know, and you getting to have this conversation with life and the universe. And also a part of you who's bringing in all these incredible clients and building a team and systems. It's not one story siloed here and another story siloed there. Like for each of us, that breaking through comes with a layered story of what's happening inside, what's happening in the work outside, what's happening in our bodies outside. And so it's a treasure to get to really see an example of that, where it's undeniable that we have to just be with our multidimensional human being selves and recognize it's not just what happens in work is one thing and what happens in my health is another. Like it's.
Yeah. And I think I also learned that there are some noises that you shouldn't ignore. That deep feeling that I had that I needed to slow down, communication that I have, however you want to call it, with the universe. There are some things that you really shouldn't ignore. And so while you're sort of trying to navigate for yourself, what do I pay attention to? What do I not pay attention to? First and foremost, start with your true self. And if you don't know what that sounds like or feels like, start to explore that, because I didn't know. I had no idea what I wanted. I just sort of did what I thought the next best thing was. And now I know exactly what I want. And I know exactly, you know, how to get there. And I know exactly what I'm doing. And I have a way of listening, and I have a way of breaking through and just experiencing in a different way. And so, you know, if you're going to break through the noise, also know and have the discretion to know what noise to listen to. And that noise is always going to be inside. There's always going to be something in here going, this is irking at me and I'm ignoring it. And that's one thing that you got to listen to.
Mm-hmm. I love that you've underscored that. to how to discern the voice of that deeper true self and know which one to listen to. That's so key. Okay, Blair, you've hit on about all of it. And I'm just so thankful for this conversation and for you and getting to meet you. It's been an absolute treasure. Thank you
Likewise.
again.
I'm so glad that our paths crossed. Thank you. Shout out to Karina who introduced us.
Yes. Hi, Karina. Thank you so much.
And I know that our paths will continue to cross, and you have got a cheerleader in me.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone, for listening. And I know that you got your nugget out of this, and many probably as I did. And join me in saying one more time, thank you to Blair, and tune in next time.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for listening to Breaking Through the Noise. You can follow us on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. And drop a comment on topics you want to hear about in future episodes. We'd love to hear that. Thanks again for tuning in. Till next time.